Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zanan Allen, and just on behalf of the Become Investible team, I'd like to welcome everyone to the first of a series of roundtable discussion. So the format of today, we'll just start off with the discussion, and then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session, right? I want to thank you again for joining in, and I'll hand it over to our roundtable panel. Kevin, take it away.
All right, Zanon, thanks a lot. So, guys, again, welcome everybody to our very first roundtable discussion. And this may not be your first webinar since this pandemic started. It may not even be your last webinar. But what we aim to do today, just to kind of separate ourselves from the other webinars you may have been in, where you would have left feeling okay, at best, okay, I feel good now. And at worst, why did I join that webinar? So today's focus, and the panelists' focus today, although I mean these are very popular people on social media and in the digital business space, our focus today is to provide you with the tools needed to diversify your income stream, to build your businesses, or even to pivot your business during this very trying time. All right, so again, thank you for joining us, and welcome, Keron Rose, online business coach, digital entrepreneur. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am all right. I'm okay. And of course, Miss Shelly-Ann Gajadhar, all the way from UK. You know, we wanted to do this. We wanted to do this panel around 6 o'clock in the evening, but that's Shelly's bedtime. You know, because that's midnight. That's midnight by where Shelly's at. So we had to kind of adjust it. But you know, so Shelly's been doing her thing, providing career and personal development coaching for the past year and 9 months, roughly.
Yes.
You know, and it's really interesting because both of you have these digital businesses, right?
Yeah.
And even now, both of you have to pivot because of what's happened. So I just like to kind of start it off by saying, okay, Shelley, how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect you, and you know what have you done differently now?
Right. So thank you so much, Become Investible team. Shout out to Keron and to all of the persons that are in here and decided to take the time to, you know, really learn from us and to exchange. So with regards to, you know, how COVID-19 has impacted on my business, generally speaking, Alpha Suit is a business that has always been a virtual one. So we've always been online. With regards to COVID-19, what we've definitely seen is an increase in our undertaking for services, as well as offering free services to meet the overwhelming demand that we've had. We've now seen entrepreneurs being interested in pivoting, being interested on getting online. We have had some conversations around career transitioners as well, since some people may have lost jobs. And there is also a big deal around diversification of your income portfolio. So how can you create, you know, different streams of income and really maximize on social media, not just as something that we use when we're just in downtime or just as an extracurricular activity, but actually something that can be used to make money. So with regards to Alpha Suit, I would say that if not, we have been positively impacted by COVID-19. And what that has done for us as a company is just ensure that we have the capacity to meet the demand. And that means that, of course, my diary needs to be opened up more, but we also need to be very selective in how we bundle our services to ensure that we hit on target. So for instance, group webinars is something that we do so we can cater to a lot of people at the same time, as well as having one day that is designated to speaking to 20 persons for free. So it really is about trying to see how you can impact a large number of people at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. You know, it's funny for me, right? So I left my my steady permanent job 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yes, February 29th. Roughly 2 weeks before this pandemic was at its peak, on where everybody started to lock down and everything.
Right.
And it was like, for me, I didn't feel like, oh God, boy, what I go do now? Because it's in my mind, I was already thinking, even back when I was still an employee there, whatnot, I was already thinking, hey, we need to go digital. This is the digital age. You need to be lean, and you need to figure out how you're gonna how you're going to scale your business with minimum spend, right?
Yeah.
So I know, Keron, you're the king of that, right? You've been shouting this from the mountaintop for a couple of years now. And Keron, you know me. You know I like to be researched and prepped before we start doing a session. And I saw 10 minutes ago you decided to drop an article on on how COVID-19 has affected your business. So I didn't get to read the full article because I had a webinar to host, right? So just tell us, just kind of walk us through how it affected your business and what sort of pivoting you had to do.
I think for me, it kind of shifted how I was going to go about the teaching of online business, because with Droid Island's been set up for e-commerce for over 2 years now, right? So nothing's changed with that. I create content, traffic goes to my website, I sell, I still work with companies in creating content. So nothing has changed with Droid Island, right? With the Keron Rose brand of online business coaching, I did a stint. I took a job for 6 months last year, and I was able to reinvest into my brand in the form of doing more workshops, teaching people about online business, social media marketing, e-commerce strategies. And what that investment allowed me to do was strike up the partnership with Eastern Credit Union. So the minute that partnership was signed, sealed, and delivered, I went back into everything 110% full time. But because in the Caribbean, people still need to hold you, touch you, feel you, smell you before they trust you, right? And we still have to kind of hold people's hands in a physical presence before they are even thinking about making a jump to doing things online. So the goal with the Eastern Credit Union partnership was online business and entrepreneurship. So I was going to be doing the workshops twice a month, as I've been doing since November, right? Yep. So now that COVID-19 happened, well, that entire plan just got shoved to the back burner, right? Speaking engagements, because speaking wasn't always something that I was doing. This year was a focus for me. So I had speaking engagements booked, I had the workshops booked, and all of that just kind of got pushed aside. So now that, those were all revenue streams coming in, right? Right. So now that forced me to say, okay, you know what? My philosophy of teaching people here was do it in the physical and bring them online. Now I got to just start with online and just work from that, right? So now I know for me personally, when you're a small business owner, one of your greatest assets is your ability to pivot without any sort of, you got to go take it to the board, you got to go get this person involved. If you want to do something, you just do it. Right. So rather than going out to anybody, right? Rather than going out to ECU, rather than going out to any of the partners that I've worked with on sponsorship for other things, I just decided, you know what? Now is the time that I'm going to start doing my own workshops through webinars, and I'll just build my own platform and do my own thing and test and see how that goes. And in doing that, I decided, you know what? It's time to rebuild my website. It's time for me to put myself out there more as an online business coach and teach people those methods and just build my own platform. So it's really helped me, just change my philosophy and how I do things and research how to get all of it done and just go out and do it.
That's excellent, man. All right. So again, you have to think very carefully and critically about our audience today, right? And by the way, everybody, this is going to be maybe about a 40-minute conversation, and then we're going to open up for Q&A at around the 40-minute mark. So you could feel free to keep your questions coming in through the chat, but let's keep the chat questions focused for now. All right. So again, thinking about the audience, people are at different points, right? Yeah. So for me, a couple of years ago, I decided, hey, let's start a podcast. We wanna give voice to Black businesses throughout the Caribbean. But there might be people who just cool, working a decent job, working a steady job You know, they may have a Facebook account, Instagram account, maybe even a LinkedIn account. Bonus points if you have a LinkedIn account with a picture.
Yeah.
but when you need to sit down in that seat and then you see what's happened now, and you're like, oh gosh, boy, no, what do I do? I mean, you're looking down, you already don't know how much longer your company is going to be able to pay you. You know, you have all these worries going on. Like, sitting in that seat, what do you think you should do first? And I guess this kind of speaks to what you do, Shelley, in terms of helping people find their purpose. Like, how do they decide, all right, what's my next move? How do I determine what's my next focus?
Yeah, and you know, that's really interesting that you've asked that, because a large percentage of the persons that have been activating our services recently are persons that have lost jobs and are persons that are thinking to career transition because they see the incoming possibility of them being let go or becoming redundant. And one of the things that I really advocate on my platform is the fact that we are shifting in terms of an economic standpoint. We're shifting from that of a labor economy to one that is an identity economy. And Kevin, I would have talked about this with you, but for those of you who are in here, really pay attention to this point. I want you to write down identity economy. What we are seeing is that previously, and you know, maybe centuries, I would say maybe the last 100 years, we have been in the labor economy where there has been an exchange of your time and your labor, and in return you get a wage, all right? And it usually is hinged on some type of manual work that you would do. Now what we're seeing in this economy is much more of presence and emphasis on one's identity. So now people are buying in to persons that they can relate to or they have a value add to. So for instance, I would work with Shelly-Ann Gajadhar because of what she represents. So I would work with Keron Rose because of what he represents. So we're not really seeing anymore a situation of, okay, this is the merits or this is the skills that this person has, but there's something around personal branding and identity. And for those who are in this space where, you know, you're thinking, all right, what can I do next? I would say the biggest thing is to start really creating much more of a value add and an asset around your identity. And that's why things like online coaching is becoming such an emergent industry. Things that are even replacing artificial intelligence. So for instance, lawyers and secretaries, we're seeing, you know, virtual executive assistants coming up. And it's simply because people are really taking ownership of their brand and making that as something that can actually become dollars and cents. So for anybody in here who might be thinking about career transitioning, or you're thinking about what can be a next step, I would strongly suggest looking at your expertise and trying to pin that down into an identity that can be monetized, and really capitalizing and taking ownership of your academic or professional journey and making it your own. So branding, I would say, is the biggest thing right now.
Interesting, you know, an identity that can be monetized. That's really interesting. I think we could come back and dig into that a little bit a little later as we progress. So Keron, I know for you have a kind of scientific approach to getting people to understand what it is that, you know, they should really focus their energies on, you know, where you get a pen and paper and you draw 2 columns, say what you like, what you want to do, what can you see yourself doing, like, just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
So I think what the points that Shelley addresses is bang on. The brands are really going to get you. They're going to get you clientele, right? They're gonna be able to define your identity and get and attract the right people. And it starts really with taking stock of your skills and also your personal interests. If you can take some time to self-reflect. So the exercise that Kevin mentioned is something that I tell people to do. Is, you know, you take 3 days, you write down every single interest that you have. Anything that you like, just in general. You're not thinking about a business, you're not thinking about making money. You just write down all the interests that you think you have or you might be interested in. And then after that 2-3 day period, you begin to just start to cross off what you can't see yourself doing over a 5-year period.
Mm-hmm.
When you get down to the very last three interests, research the hell out of everything and figure out, well, what really, floats your boat, and dive right into it. Because the beauty of this skills economy that we are in is that you can take your interests, you can take your skills and brand it and monetize it. And one of the things one of the stats that Teachable, if you guys don't know about Teachable, Teachable is a learning management system platform. People can create their courses online and share it with the world, right? Teachable had in their summit, they released the weirdest courses that earned over 6 figures US in revenue for last year. And those two courses, every time I go back to that interview, I have to laugh because it's a testament to you being able to turn anything you want into a business. And those two courses were, one was how to define the copper deficiency in goats. I was like, that's a problem?
That's a very big problem.
That's a problem. And
a lot of us like goat cheese and all those things.
Yeah, it's a problem, right? So this course creator has created a course on how to find copper deficiency in goats. And that is one of the weirdest, highest incoming courses on Teachable. The second one was intermediate blacksmithing. I was like, there's beginner blacksmithing? There are people out here running around with swords and shields going to war on horseback. Like, how is this a thing? But then you think of Game of Thrones, and then you think of like everybody who'd be into that thing. You're like, okay, it makes sense, right? The point is that we live in a time where you can say, I like this, and I can dial into this. There is a community that you have access to globally that you can create or tap into, and you can build a business off of that. For me, I started with phones. The fact that, my mom could laugh and she's like, you still obsessed with phones, boy? Since you was in high school, you like tech and phones, and now this is a business. But it's just a testament to, you can take any skill you want, any interest you want, and turn it into a brand, and you can monetize. Yeah.
Interesting. I guess it's really that sort of deprogramming your mindset, because that's where it really starts. No matter what you're doing, right? Your first thing you need to adjust is your mindset, right? So it's to deprogram that mindset in terms of, okay, what is a business and what is a hobby? And it's to really draw that nexus. Okay, well, this hobby could actually turn into a business. So I started a podcasting hobby, and fingers crossed, it might soon become a business. Right? Yeah. So again, all right. So people might have hobbies where they may be cooking doubles at home, making their own KFC, their own versions of KFC fried chicken and everything, right? But it's time to go digital.
Yeah.
How do we go about letting people know, hey, I could teach you how to do this, and it might actually be worth your while to pay me to teach you how to do this, or maybe worth your while to pay me to show you this, or maybe you want to get somebody to sponsor you. Like maybe if watching me do this is so interesting that you, Mr. Advertiser, you, Mr. Brand, you want to pay me to mention your brand. So like if a rum company wants to get involved with me. So anyway, so how do you? I just had to do that. I just always have to do that, right? So again, how do we kind of revitalize our social media presence? Should we start with social media presence? And I know this is a topic that two of you might have some slightly major different views on, right? But should we start with the social media presence? Should we get the website first and then build the social media presence? Like, how do we think about all of this? Because remember, we had a full-time job, we had a minimal social media presence, but now we need to find alternative ways to make money and enjoy doing these things, Yeah. So I don't know, Keron.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
All right. So I would say, my take on it, and I think it's publicly known because I have shared a YouTube on my own opinions around, what should come first. And I am a strong believer of building an audience first. And the reason why I say that is simply because we spend a lot of time on social media as a place to pass time, as a place to just kind of connect with people. And a lot of times we're not realizing that, you know, our audience is actually right there at our fingertips. And it's the only reason why we haven't seen them as an audience is simply because we are not looking at social media in that way. You know, we're not thinking about monetization. We're not thinking about getting online. So now with COVID-19, we're starting to look at social media with a different lens and say, you know, maybe this is a platform where I can do something on here. So for me, I strongly suggest building an audience. And, you know, there's a couple of reasons why I say that. Firstly, you know, you have people on there that already know you, and it's either family or friends. And one of the biggest rules of entrepreneurship, particularly when you're now starting off with an idea, a product or a service, is your biggest investors are your FNFs, and that is family and friends. And when you think about where family and friends are, sometimes it's mostly on our social media platforms, right? So for me, I would strongly suggest in building up an engaged audience. Now, for somebody that might not have experience in even being online in that way and pitching yourself in that way, I would say when I first started talking about, you know, I have a business and this is what I want to do and this is what I can provide, one of the most important things was announcing what I have to offer. You know, because the world only knows what you have to offer if you say it. You know, we can't expect for the world to just know what you have as an offer. So I think it's really important for us to just reach to that stage or that stage of confidence to be able to say, you know, this is what, these are the ideas that I have on offer. This is what I've been noticing. And really using some of our engagement tools. So for instance, DMs to polls to kind of get people to engage, because we have to move our audience from just viewing to actually engaging. And the only way we can do that is like literally asking, when you look at YouTube videos, for those of you who watch YouTube videos, at the end of the videos, you have these YouTubers saying, please subscribe to my channel, you know, and it's a chorus that they say every single time after their videos. And one of the other things about it is, you know, not just announcing what you do, but being consistent. You know, every single day when I decided that I wanted to start a business, I was consistent. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to see Shelley on there talking about the same thing. Because generally speaking, social media is saturated with information. You know, when we're scrolling, it is less than a second that people are spending on the timeline. So you have to constantly say the same thing over and over and over again for people to catch on. So it's about, one, announcing what you do, and two, being consistent. Now, there is a lot of work to do before that. And the work to do before that is confidence building. Right. And I think that's where my expertise, as well as Keron's expertise, comes in terms of, you know, making you assured that you have the confidence and the positioning to do that.
Yeah, because that's why I wanted to go next. Because I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily want to put themselves out there, right? I mean, they want the brands or their business or whatever it is to stand aside from their personal identity. Yeah, you know, depending on, you don't know what they do as a day job, or, well, I don't know if they live in a double life, but but a lot of people wanna just kind of keep themselves out in the limelight, but they want their work to be showcased. So, I mean, would you say that's a confidence thing, or would you say that's more of a, I don't know, like, would you say it's a confidence thing?
I do think it's a confidence thing, and I think it comes back to, you know, the traditional work framework that we have been under, which is we work for someone, you know, and now this change in the economy is shifting us to really stand on our own. And really make something of ourselves. When we look at the people that are thriving in this time, it's people who are standing on their strengths. And I think it's definitely a confidence thing, and it's reasonable, because we have been in this mundane and monotonous system of working for someone. So I do believe it's a confidence thing, but I'd love to hear Keron's point on this with confidence.
Oh, so would I.
Yes.
I was enjoying hearing you talk.
My tea.
Keron almost finished his drink just now.
My drink at the brim.
My drink's good, okay.
You know what? And you know what? Okay, so let me get back to the original question as to what comes first. And Shelley is right. Like, you have to build your audience, right? But how we go about it is just different, because there's an audience on social media, but there's an audience on the search engines. People are Googling their problems every single day. We don't we don't search for our problems on social media. So for me, when I started out, my thing was, how do I answer the questions people have in my niche? And I'm lucky that I had someone to help me in the very beginning to say, yo, you can build your website. And when I built my first Rhode Island website, that costed me less than 500 TT to build a professionally done website, right? And then I learned about a variety of SEO tools from the jump, and those tools were free. So what those tools allowed me to do was I got to see all of the data for what everybody is searching for online. I literally had all the information for what people are searching for on search engines. So everything they Google, I'd be able to figure out what they're looking for and then create content around it. So when I created my website for peanuts, put that online, learned what people were looking for, I would then write a blog that answered that question. And then because I had things like my email marketing and stuff like that set up, and I had things like Google Search Console that allows for even some really deep analytics to give me information on the people that visit my website and how I'm being found, I had a lot of data from the very beginning. So when I now created that content, I created the blog, I went to social media for distribution of the content. And I treated social media as breadcrumbs to come back to my website. Because when people come back to my website, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about. There's
what's happening on your website? What is your website a boogie trap, Keron? What's happening with your website?
Well, everybody knows, right? You have, like, you go to any website, websites tell you, hey, this website, has cookies and it's used to create a better experience on the website, right? And we have all these tools that allow you to retarget people. So when people come to the website and you have your things like your Facebook pixel, your Google pixel, tag your site visitors, that now you can create these audiences on whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, that now allow you to remarket your products and content to anybody who visits your website. These are things I learned from the jump, and I was like, yo, if I can build my website as this powerful integrated hub, use social media to, yes, raise the awareness and bring people back, people could now come to my email list, people could get tagged by my pixels, people could get tagged by my notification marketing, people can now purchase products on my website. And I was always able to start selling and doing a lot more and raise my profile from very early. And one of the things that blogging and getting my content out there and understanding how SEO worked from very early was, if I were to focus 100% on social media in the beginning, right? Putting content out there, people would look at my metrics, my followers, likes, and they would judge if I'm credible or not, right? Yeah. When I built my website and my blog, properly optimized for SEO, and like I said, I learned this stuff very, very early. When people are Googling, how do you input a digital APN? And I'm ranking for all of my competition. I'm ranking higher than Digicel, B-Mobile, Huawei, Samsung in all of the questions people are asking about online. Who looks like the automatic authority in the space without the numbers? Because people come to me all the time and they're like, yo, you don't have a big Instagram following. Why is Huawei, Digicel, Samsung, why are all these companies working for you? And that's because my content has always reached the CEOs and the highest level execs. And my business was always able to build from top down. So once the executives see my value, they don't care about my numbers because they already have the platform, but they don't have my content. So for me, I always focused on going that route, but then using social media to bring people to my platforms.
You know, that's pretty genius. That's pretty cool. All right. So Keron, you know, like what I'm visualizing as you're saying that. So I'm visualizing people visiting your website and you standing up on top of a roof with some binoculars on, looking at what they're doing, while Shelley, you know, is on the ground talking to them, say, hey, what do you want? What do you need? How do you feel today? You rock. You know, so yeah. Shelley, am I painting this? Am I painting this right? Like,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I definitely think you are painting it right. It comes down to, you know, what it is you're trying to do. Firstly, you know, and that is why Keron and I are in this space talking about this afternoon. It really comes down to what is your interest and who are you trying to target? For Alpha Students, you know, we focus more on individuals. So of course, having that closer connection to individuals is paramount for us, and how best to do that but through social media. But of course, if it is you are targeting corporates, that strategy that Keron has spoken about works significantly, and I love that he touched on blogs, particularly with regards to tying it into, you know, branding and identity and stuff. For somebody who is trying to introduce themselves as somebody who is authoritative in this space and who has the expertise, you know, I have talked about branding as something that we should focus on, and blogs is a great way to start. Particularly, I mean, when you search your name, that is something that has the potential to come up in the first pages of Google. So for me, I would say that when it came to me really focusing on getting clients that were engaged and getting clients that wanted to have an interest in Alpha Suits and really use the service, I got to their pains. I got straight to their pains. You know, I asked questions. And one of the things I want to say about building a business is, you know, budding entrepreneurs should have two things: time to be able to put into developing this business, and two, research skills. Research. And Keron talked about it, you know, with regards to, you know, researching what it is out there, and seeing what people do. Because a big influencer for me was benchmarking, you know, seeing who is in the space, seeing what it is they do, not copying people. Please, not copying, not replicating, but, you know, adding value and making sure that, you know, you are able to find shortcuts. And a big part of that is with regards to research. So for me, I had to find out what were people's pains, you know, what is the issues that they were confronting with regards to career transitioning, with regards to university applications. And the only way that was best for me to do that, specifically because I am based in London, but serve the Caribbean region, was through asking questions online, through getting them to tell me, give me information. And let me tell you, you'll be so surprised how people are willing to talk about themselves. People are so willing to tell you their stories. And if there is anybody in here thinking about starting a business, please don't give me the excuse that, people are not willing to talk to me. No. When you ask somebody something about their story, their pains, this is probably the conversation that they've been waiting for all week, because they can't wait to vent to you. They can't wait to share with you what has been going on, because what in them sharing that, they are also foreseeing that you might have a solution for them. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions on social media. Don't be afraid to get in touch with people and, you know, really engage and make the platform and the space a much more social one, because we need to move from just scrolling to really engaging.
Yeah. And as you mentioned,
go ahead. No, I wanted to add on to that.
Yeah.
So I love what you said. And you know what? I think one of the things that I would add to that is, like, for me and my approach, it was never to work with corporate because I'm always looking at the pain points of the audience.
Yeah.
My research is to understand what are they looking for so that I can now create that content to make the most relevant content. Because a lot of times people don't know how to verbalize what the pain points are. But I can look at the data and see, okay, they're struggling with how to program a Samsung S20 or how to take pictures, whatever, and I would create that content. And then what I did was, as a up and coming entrepreneur, one of the pain points that we have is capital. Capital has killed more entrepreneurship dreams than anything else. So for me, what I did was I was able to use the data to create this content. And then I used a platform like LinkedIn to connect and get my content in front of all the right people. And once I was able to establish partnerships and whatnot, I was then able to now work with the companies to turn around and do workshops for free. Because a lot of the workshops that you see sponsored by me for the public, I don't charge a penny for. And that's because I'm able to tap in and work with people to to access those resources to turn around and address the pain points without having to monetize the audience. So we do a lot of the same things. These are two very good approaches. It's just, again, Shelley will definitely come out and talk to you. For me, I've always been a bit more reserved and a bit more introverted. So, let me let me jump on the computer, do my homework, and just be very precise with how I show up and with how I write. Even when you're showing up and you're creating content, don't feel like you have to start with video. Don't feel like you have to do a podcast. And it's great because Shelley does good video. Kevin does podcasts. Me in the beginning.
So my podcast not good, though? I don't understand.
It's been great. And starting, I wasn't comfortable doing video or doing audio. I decided, you know what? Let me write. Writing allowed me to show up consistently on a medium that I was comfortable in because I didn't want to do video. I didn't want to do audio. I wanted to be able to just write. And as I got more comfortable, putting myself out there more and more and more, then I decided, let me do video. Let me do the podcast and whatnot.
And I think one of the things I want to say about this, right? Because, we talk about two different strategies, but even though there are different strategies, they are consistent. They are very clear brand voices. They are very clear. They're very clear in terms of their direction and in terms of the types of steps that we take and the types of content that we release and we generate. And I think that's really important, particularly in this time. Recently I posted on LinkedIn and I talked about, so much distortion that is happening right now with so many people jumping online and going on lives and having collaborative talks and it's not being on brand, right? And it's not.
How do you feel today, Keron? Hey, Shelley, what's in your cup?
And I just want to say, that comes back to this whole consistency thing because, when you are showing up online, you have to be clear about what the offering is. What is it that you are giving to your audience and what is it that they can always find when they come to your platform? Because one of the things I see on social media, which is a big, big no-no, is you're a pilot, you're a hairdresser, you're a chef, and so much things in your bio. And I'm left wondering, well, who are you? What do you offer? What is it that we're getting here? And it's a missed opportunity, so I want this audience, in thinking about how are you going to present yourself online to really get clear on what the offering is.
And that consistency is something that we could never stress enough because since I started in 2016, I pretty much create content almost every single day, whether it's from my platform or another platform or depending on the medium, because it might not have to be a video every day. It could be an IG story. It could be a notification marketing post. It could be an email post, but you will always hear from me in some form or fashion every single day. And depending on my mood will dictate, how in depth that piece of content gets, or if it's just a touch base. But the consistency is, again, something that Shelley brought up that cannot be stressed enough.
Yeah. All right. So we covered getting started. We covered kind of getting comfortable, getting a name out there. I just want to kind of stick a quick bookmark here where Shelley mentioned where people may be afraid to tell their story in a public forum, but on a one-on-one basis, they're very free to open up. So Shelley, Keron, and myself, we all have in our calendars, especially during this time, we have opened up free discovery call sessions, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, where you could talk to us about your story. We could possibly help it based on our individual skill sets or what we focus on. And, so you could go ahead and book that, kevinvalley.com/contact, keronrose.com, alphastute.com/book, I believe it is, Shelley? Yeah, I booked sessions with Shelley before. All right, so let's get to monetization, right? So Shelley, in your video where you spoke about the merits of social media as an alternative to being a website, you're saying that social media is actually is e-commerce optimized, while in Keron's blog and in his content, he mentions, hey, that may be true, but not so for people in the Caribbean.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah.
So whoever wants to go first, let's just kind of dig into that real quick.
Right. So I'll touch on social media as an e-commerce platform. And I'll start with, when I was building AlphaStute. So I looked at building my Instagram as if I approached it as if I was building a website. Right. So from my bio to the call to action buttons that I had to the third-party service providers that I used, it was very much around not having a website, but basically sending people over to booking platforms where they can book time with me. So for instance, platforms like Calendly, Acuity, Setmore, these are free third-party booking platforms where people can book a session with you and it goes straight into your calendar. It's synced to your calendar. So I didn't have to have a website for that. And then with regards to payment, how I was able to do that was through PayPal. Now, I know that PayPal is not the most optimum platform, particularly for persons that are based in the Caribbean. It's a very kind of tedious process, but it was the only thing that worked at the time for me. So I've used PayPal and the PayPal Me link as well to be able to get persons to pay for my services. Now, what I would say, particularly since I have a social media presence that is over 10,000K, that comes with certain perks. One of the biggest perks, that comes with is obviously the swipe up button, which has been, when I can tell you that the majority of my monetization comes from that swipe up. And what that shows is that when people are so engaged with you, and they really buy into your branding. And when I say buy in, not to falsely advertise yourself, but to really genuinely and authentically show up as who you are and what you offer, you realize how engaged your audience is to buy something from you, and they trust your opinion. And Keron, you talked about trust, that building of trust, and saying that, we need to build trust face to face. But one of the things that we also need to really focus on is building trust online. Mm-hmm. And there's a big question around, how do you do that? And it is about, one, credibility, of course. Saying that I have these things under my belt, this experience, I've worked with these people, these are the results that I have been able to achieve. And also, again, consistently, singing the same song. I think people, and not to make this as anything negative, but you cannot fool the public, and long ago, we used to use social media to fool the public. You're home and you're taking a picture and you're thinking that you're living a great, nice life, and it's far removed from that. The public cannot be fooled, and it's simply because what we need to realize is the customers getting so much closer to our offering, our product offering, and they have so much more of a say now. So a big part of my monetization has been my swipe up, and it's simply because I spend time building my audience. And since I've spent time building my audience, I now enjoy that swipe up, which I would say is 90% of my revenue. Okay. I could say that. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And I mean, okay, that's lovely. That's lovely. All right. So we have a lot of questions coming in. I know Keron could do about 5 webinars on this question alone.
Because I have.
Because he has, right? So Keron, yes. I don't know if you want to opine on, the e-commerce and payments and stuff. I don't know if can you do it in 2 minutes? Let's just can we put you under that pressure?
Yeah. That's no scene. Honestly, one of the big adjustments for me moving from, because me and Shelley have actually done the reverse. Shelley, you grew up in Trinidad and then made your way out to the UK.
Yeah.
I was raised my whole life in Toronto and then made the move to Trinidad a couple years ago, right? So one of the big changes was how social media and the feature set and options that were available to the Canadian market got stripped away from me moving into the Caribbean market, right? So when it comes to monetizing your online presence, we don't have some of the key features to be able to monetize as some of the other markets would do. So up until 2018, I enjoyed product tagging. I would make my posts on my social feed and in my IG stories. I would tag my products and I would be able to give the direct information on the product tab. And that would then carry you to my website to then process the payments if you wanted to place your order. That is a significant feature that even Instagram has solidified Instagram as a platform to do e-commerce that we don't have access to in the Caribbean. Now, if you are somebody who does not have over 10K followers, I don't. Swipe up is only available if you are sponsoring an IG story, right? So a lot of the commerce features cannot happen on social media, right? Even Facebook themselves, you can check out on Facebook. If you build a Facebook shop, Facebook in the US has a payment processor integrated to process directly on Facebook that we don't have access to outside of the US, right? So how we build our shops on social media would be, you can build a Facebook shop. Instagram can then pull whatever data you put into a Facebook shop and give you the shopping bag on Instagram, and people can click, but then it's going to redirect it to your website, right? So that's key for us to understand from a Caribbean perspective and using social media to process or to monetize. And then because we don't own the platforms, we can't directly monetize. When you have your website, there's a few ways I monetize on my website. For one, I have Google AdSense on my Rhode Island website. So I get a check from Google every month in US because of traffic visiting my website. That's one. I can upload my digital products, my ebooks and whatnot directly onto my website and sell directly onto my website. I can do affiliate marketing, embed Amazon affiliates or whoever I want to affiliate with onto my blog post and on my website, which then give me more money. So there's a variety of ways that you can monetize. But again, social media is always going to be key in driving traffic. Yeah. But depending on your market, you may not be, you will not be able to monetize depending on where you are watching this from. If you're in the States or the UK, you have features that here in the Caribbean we don't have. So we gotta know what our tools are available to us to be able to monetize to the best of our ability.